Hello, racers, and welcome to a brand new episode of Race in Review, the podcast started by a couple of sim racers that love Formula One racing. On our YouTube channel, we bring you all things sim racing. On this podcast, we bring you all opinions about the latest Formula One race and we predict the upcoming race as well. Oh, yeah, of course, one of us supports Lewis in red and the other one supports Max, and we still get along in the wonderful world of Formula One. My name is John, and I'll be your host today talking about the second race of the season in China. And I couldn't do this alone, so I'm joined by the man with the best hair in the business. It's none other than James Hazel. Hi, James.
Hello, how's it going?
Quite all right. A bit of a tough week being ill and all, but
Yeah,
back on my feet. And there has been some drivers this week that had a worse week than me, so can't
yeah.
really complain, I suppose.
No, probably not really, no.
How you been?
Yeah, I've been all right, thank you, yeah. Enjoyed the race.
You,
I
you did?
enjoyed the sprint race more than the actual race, but
Yeah, with Lewis winning the sprint race, that was quite awesome for you, I think.
that was phenomenal. Pole and then the win. That was, yeah. Wasn't expecting that at this point in the season.
I didn't. I
It
think
was a
neither
weekend
did
of highs
Lewis.
and lows as a Ferrari fan because the main event didn't go too well.
No, but I can try to summarize that in 1 minute if that maybe helps a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So let me try to summarize the race in 1 minute. Piastri bounces back with a commanding Chinese Grand Prix victory. Oscar Piastri redeemed himself from last week's Australian Grand Prix mistake by clinching a dominant victory in Shanghai, leading a McLaren 1-2 with teammate Lando Norris. Somewhere in Woking, McLaren's coffee machine are working overtime from all these celebratory espressos. Starting from pole, Piastri controlled the race from start to finish, never putting a foot wrong in a much calmer contest compared to the chaotic season opener. The key strategy question was one stop or two, and in the end, the majority of the field, including the top five finishers, opted for a single pit stop. Meanwhile, Red Bull strategists have been nodding. Well, we're probably looking at their notes upside down, wondering why Max wasn't flying past everyone like usually or years before. Norris stayed with his striking distance, but was forced to nurse a brake issue in the closing laps, ensuring McLaren's perfect result. Meanwhile, George Russell briefly threatened Norris during pit stops, but settled for third after being outpaced by the McLaren driver. He later admitted that trying to catch a McLaren 2025 felt like chasing a papaya flavored rocket, whatever that means. McLaren Verstappen of Max Verstappen's struggles continued as he finished fourth, unable to challenge the top three, but making an awesome overtake on Charles Leclerc. Talk about Charles Leclerc and the Ferraris. They clashed on the opening lap with Leclerc sustaining front wing damage, but opting not to pit for repairs and actually getting a faster car out of it. Hamilton, the only frontrunner on a top two strategy, showed strong pace but couldn't recover the lost time, so he did at least get extra frequent flyer miles for visiting it at the pit once more. Further down, Esteban Ocon delivered a stellar drive to 7th from Haas, ahead of Mercedes rookie Kimi Antonelli, who somehow got driver of the day, and with Alex Albon and Ollie Behrman completing the top 10 for Williams. Behrman even threw in a cheerful ciao over the radio as he stormed past his rivals, proving that style points should count for something as well. Post-race drama, however, shook up the results as Leclerc and Gasly were disqualified for car weight breaches. To make things worse, even Hamilton was disqualified for plank assembly violation. The FIA might as well start a new reality show now. F1 who gets disqualified next. This reshuffled the points, promoting Ocon, Antonelli, Albon, Behrman, Stroll, and Carlos Sainz into the top 10. McLaren's back-to-back victories make them the early team to beat in 2025, while Red Bull and Ferrari scramble to find answers. Will Verstappen and Leclerc get back to their winning ways, or will McLaren's papaya power dominance continue? Stay tuned to the race in Japan. James, the
Yeah.
race itself wasn't my most interesting race. Whatever happened after the finish flag dropped. Capital's busy this week.
Yeah.
Where to
It's a
start?
shame. It's a shame, but the rules are the rules. I saw. I can't remember the guy's name. He's one of the pundits on Sky coverage in the UK, and he was talking. He had like a not even a business card, like just some little thin piece of card or whatever, and saying like this was the margin that Lewis was disqualified for. But it's like, well, that's if you're over the margin, you're over the margin. That's just the rules. You can't be flexible on that. So yeah,
No,
it's
it sucks.
disappointing.
But it's same with like football offside. There's a
Yeah,
line, and that's the
yeah,
line. You know.
yeah. You can't be. Well, I was only a millimeter over. It didn't make a massive difference. Well, it's a millimeter is a millimeter, or 0.5 of a millimeter, or whatever it is. And same with the weight. Uh, Rules are rules, and if you break them, you pay for it. So, I mean, it's kind of frustrating when the result gets changed after the race, and we've had that a couple of times with like time penalties coming in late in the past, haven't we? Where it's ended up shuffling somebody off the podium or what have you. But that's just the way it is. They can't they can't they can't uh, they can't make these decisions super fast because these were technical decisions rather than a time penalty or something. So, um, but it's good for the rest of the field. I mean, Ocon up to fifth in the
Well,
Haas.
seventh was good already. So
It was very good already for that Haas. That Haas was looking awful in the first race, and it wasn't even looking all that great in qualifying. But Ocon had a tremendous race, and to be fair, so did Behrman.
yeah,
Um, he wasn't in the points. He was just out of the points in 11th before the disqualifications, wasn't he? But 11th is still a good result on the road for Behrman in that Haas, I think. Um, I think,
ciao.
yeah, ciao. I wasn't a massive fan of that, to be honest.
I
But
don't think anyone was. The first time I was like, oh, that's cheeky. I like it. The
yeah,
fourth time I was like, okay, now it's getting boring, man.
yeah, he doesn't need to do that after every pass. I
Can you
mean,
imagine Max or Lando doing that after every
yeah,
pass?
kind of act like you've been there before, maybe. But yeah, it's a good result for him though. Even before the disqualifications promoted him into the points, which is just a very good points haul for Haas, based on how they were looking in Australia and the start of the season. That is a great boost for their constructors' championship points haul. Lance Stroll managing to sneak in as well with that.
Yeah.
That's not bad for Aston, but unfortunately for Alonso, he didn't
Yeah.
finish the race, did he?
No, he actually fell off in the second lap with brake issues, or third lap
Yeah,
maybe. I don't even know on top of my mind, top of my
fourth
head.
lap it was.
4 laps, very early, but it was
Yeah,
a brake issue. I I saw some people saying, okay, it can't happen and it's amateur. Normally, when a car breaks down on brake issues, losing the pressure that early, it's usually a wrongful assembly.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, it normally comes down to it'll have been somebody's made a bit of a mistake when the car's been getting prepped.
Yeah,
More than likely, at least, either when it's on the grid or even before it left the garage. Because when they on a race weekend before they even go to the grid, they often do multiple laps, going round and then back into the pits as a bit of preparation for the car.
dangerous
Um,
one though.
yeah, so it might have even happened before they even left the pits and started doing that, and it just didn't reveal itself until the race had started. Um, but then similarly, Norris with a brake issue at the end of the race.
Yeah, but that can be in the end of the race. It could be
Yeah, that's more likely
wear.
wear and
So
tear.
yeah,
Something's happened. Yeah, maybe something came a little bit loose through vibrations, or took a little bit of damage that caused a minor leak or something. Because that's what they put it down to in the end, was there was some sort of leak, wasn't there, that was causing that? But it was very minor. They
it's
could
the water, I think.
they could. Well, I mean, they could predict how much he was losing because they were basically telling him at what lap it was going to
True, true.
become worse. So they could monitor it very well. Um, but Lando, I mean, yeah, we should maybe not get straight into the main race So I'll get into that later on, I suppose. But
You jump into the sprint race because you're
yeah,
desperately want to talk about
the
that.
sprint was brilliant because Lewis got pole, led every lap, won the race. That's fantastic for me as a Lewis fan. What was disappointing was where did that disappear to for the rest of the weekend? We will ever know, I don't think. But
Well, I got a theory about that though.
okay,
Right. So on a sprint race, you can actually put your car lower because the wear on the plank
yeah,
is
that's true.
actually there's not much time to get too much wear in, so you can put your
Yeah,
car very low. You can actually maybe scratch off a little bit more than you're normally allowed to. And on the Sunday, you have to put your car higher. I think that's where they also might have made that mistake with his car, not put it high enough.
yeah, yeah, probably.
But yeah, put your car higher, you have less grip, you're slower.
This is true. Yeah,
And
but yeah, the fact
I think it is taking advantage of a sprint race optima forma here.
maybe, yeah. I mean, they looked, especially in the hands of Lewis, looked very good in qualifying. And in the race, the race, I found the race interesting just because of the fact that they obviously had to manage their tyres. And it became a bit of a game of chess in some ways with how they were driving because they were having to conserve the tyres and they were using them at different points in the sprint race. And then tyre wear kind of revealed itself later on. And it became fairly evident towards the end of the race that McLaren and Ferrari probably had the best tyre wear out of all the teams on the grid. Unfortunately for McLaren, they couldn't really make a lot of use of that. Certainly for Lando, he had a very disappointing sprint race. He was stuck behind.
No, mostly a very disappointing qualification.
Yeah, but
He
even the
messed up
race,
his own qualifications.
he did mess up his qualification, and that's on him. But he made no impression on the race until very late on,
True.
and then managed to sneak into the points. He spent the majority of the race stuck behind. Was it Stroll? I'm sure
Yeah.
it was it was an Aston Martin. Yeah. Um, so that was quite disappointing. I suppose people will maybe now be saying, "Oh, the McLaren's like the old Mercedes, where it's like it's fast in clear air, but it's not designed for overtaking because it's designed to be at the front." And I don't think it's really that personally. I don't think it's a great track for overtaking. We didn't. Well, it can be. Historically, it is. But this weekend, it kind of proved not to be, did it? The DRS wasn't super effective. And I don't know if that's just how these cars have evolved into the final season of this kind of iteration of F1. But
I
yeah,
feel there's something else going on with something interesting we've not seen before with sprint racing and regular racing now.
yeah.
On not last year, but previous years, you weren't able to change the car after sprint.
Oh yeah, yeah,
This year you can, of course.
yeah.
I think last year as well. But so what you can do is now you can set up your car differently for a sprint race versus the actual race.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
I think this is what happened with Ferrari. They actually set up their car way different, maybe
yeah,
even illegally different normally. But because the wear isn't that high, you can run more risk on your car into a sprint.
yeah.
I
I agree
think
with
they
that. I mean,
sort of
it's
figured it's not illegal. Don't get me wrong, but
no, it would be
normally,
illegal in a race setup,
yes,
like for a full race. But
exactly. So they optimize their strategy there, and I know people are very harsh on Ferrari after this Sunday's disqualification, but I find the fact they've set up Lewis's car lower than they normally would be allowed to optimize the result in sprints. Of course, they mess it up on a Sunday,
yeah,
but the fact they even considered that, and I think that's the only team that actually tried that so far,
mm.
is pretty smart.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. To be fair, like you said, this was a thing last year as well, and teams have done this, and even I think Piastri alluded to it in like a post-sprint interview, saying that they learned stuff that they can carry forward into the rest of the weekend. So the sprint race now and the sprint qualifying does, whilst it's a like a race session, worth your position on the grid and worth points. It is also now, and was last season as well, a sort of practice session as well, so that they can kind of learn something. It's not like you get one practice session and then that's it. You're set up for the rest of
Yeah.
the weekend and you're done, and it becomes a predictable weekend. You can make quite drastic changes if needed between the sprint race and qualifying for the main race. So yeah, that is really good, and I that's a change that I think I think everybody said, when they first introduced sprint races, they need to do something about how the sessions work, because once you've seen the sprint race, you kind of know how the main race is going to go, and for the most part, it did pan out that way as well. But yeah, there's that the setups and the differences. Yeah, I mean, technically, just in case anyone wants to correct us on this, because the setup itself isn't illegal. There's not many things that would be illegal in a setup, is there, other than, I suppose, tire pressures that are mandated. But it's what it results, what it leaves the state it leaves the car in would be illegal afterwards, wouldn't it?
Yes,
So if
and
they
normally you wouldn't be able to do that, because if
yeah,
you run your car too
if they're
low,
running the car lower, then they're going to get more wear on their plank. But they're doing fewer laps, so that wear on the plank results in it's more wear but less wear, if that makes
yeah.
sense.
But
Um,
in the old
but if they
format,
did,
we couldn't do this, because then they
no,
would be
no,
stuck with
exactly,
that car for the race.
exactly, and then it wouldn't make it through the race without becoming the car becoming illegal because of
And
the
I
wear on
figured
the
this
plank.
out.
So
I thought about it when he got disqualified by Splank. I was like, oh, maybe they just ran him extra low on the Saturday. That's why he performed that
yeah,
well.
maybe just underestimated how much they needed to race the car, but
It's
racing the car
marginal, of
also
course, but still.
slows the car down. So I think Lewis. I mean, it's disappointing for their points because
Well, it's
it was
double unlucky that Leclerc got punishes.
it was a reasonable points haul for them as a team for Ferrari. And Lewis, I don't think, would have finished in a lower position had he had the car raised slightly higher and finished slightly slower for it. But that's what they did, and that's the result, and that's the way the rules are, and that's it. You can't really argue about it. You've just got to put it down to a mistake by Ferrari for Lewis and Leclerc, and a mistake by Alpine for Gasly. It's you know,
Now we
or,
saw,
or
of
potentially the
course,
driver if they've just overused their fuel. But that comes down if it was a weight issue and it turns out that they just they underfueled the car or whatever, and then the remaining amount left them too light. But that's down to the engineers as well. They should be monitoring that. They should know how much fuel they're going to have for the end of the race, and they should be telling them when they need to do a bit of lift and coast to preserve some fuel, if that's what it
yeah,
comes
if they
to.
listen to it, because I heard Charles say a couple of times, nope.
Well, yeah, there's a
So,
suggestion of not cutting the cutting across the curb on turn one,
yeah.
which might help him, or so his engineer thought. But yeah, Leclerc was quite adamant that that wasn't going to help him. I think it's a
So
fun
far,
interaction. Yeah,
the interaction between engineers this year and the drivers
yeah,
have been pretty fun. Um, we've seen Nopes, we've seen, of course, Charles. We can do a special segment about every week after a race, I think, so far. And these guys have been working together for a while now.
yeah. Charles, I like Charles in the car. He doesn't get. I mean, all the drivers get a little bit flustered, don't they, when things aren't going very well. But Charles is often quite calm, and he's often got a bit of a sense of humour, even when he's driving flat out around a challenging circuit. And I just find that quite fun, to be honest. I like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I want to highlight, of course, Piastri for his excellent race result.
Piastri's
Uh,
race was
I mean,
fantastic. Yeah,
it's sprint as well, right? Second maximum
yep,
result there as well, I think.
yep. He did very well.
I think maximum result, I think Max taken far more points at that Red Bull that it's currently worth.
I think so. Yeah, I think. I mean, this could be an entirely different topic, but that Red Bull is not very good.
We'll talk about
And
that in a moment, I promise.
yeah,
But yeah, I think he's outperforming the car by a mile there.
Yeah.
Russell, Mr. Consistency.
Yeah.
Well done. Think.
Yeah.
You don't see him, he gets third. You don't see him, he gets third again.
Same in Australia as China. He was kind of invisible in the race. And then the race finishes and it's like, Russell's third again. Or second or whatever result he gets. He's on the podium because he just finds himself in no man's land because the McLarens are faster than the Mercedes and the Red Bull is slower than the Mercedes. And it's a little bit like previous seasons where like third or fourth on the grid or on the track was often just kind of floating around in this gap between other fights. But solid drive from him, yeah.
For sure. Ocon, we already spoke about Haas, about Haas as well. Do you want to talk about Sainz? Because he looked poor on a Saturday.
Sainz does not look comfortable in that car at all. I'm a little bit disappointed in how this start of the season's going for him. Yeah, I don't really know what it is. I haven't, to be fair, I've not seen a lot of his interviews and what he's had to say so far. But he just doesn't seem to be getting on very well in that Williams at the moment, which is disappointing because I think Williams is a strong car, as far as like the mid-pack goes at least. And they have already got a decent points haul. They've already, I think after this race, in fact, with the revised points after the disqualifications, they have already beaten last season's points tally in 2 races. So that suggests they've made a considerable step forward. But they can't rely on disqualifications.
Did I say they will get 180 points this year?
No, I think you said they get about 50 or something.
Yeah, I know.
Or 20 something, and I said 120 something.
But yeah, I think I might have lost that one already.
We'll see how it goes for the rest of the season. Because the other strong midfield team that I didn't predict is the Racing Bulls. What was
very strong.
Was Toro Rosso, then became AlphaTauri, then became VCarb, and is now Racing Bulls. They look very good. And the only reason their race result doesn't reflect that is because they 2-stopped and expected everyone else to 2-stop probably. Yeah. And the 2-stop didn't work, which no one really, in the build-up to the race, was going to predict. Everyone expected a 2-stop race, and it was only really when the race started that people...
I think the Hearts were way better than everyone expected.
Yeah, it was only during the race that people switched strategy, and I think Racing Bulls made a slight mistake by not changing their strategy kind of on the fly, if you know what I mean, during the race, like everyone else. I think they decided they were going to do a 2-stop, and they stuck to that strategy no matter what. And I think the other teams planned to do a 2-stop and then switch to a 1-stop when they realised that a 1-stop was viable, if not potentially faster, which it did turn out to be. So, yeah, they got caught out by their own bad decisions, really, which is unfortunate for them, but the car looks fast. And Yuki with those disqualifications, Yuki would have been the one finishing 5th, I think, wouldn't he, at one point?
Yeah, but I think Hadja he drove an excellent race as well. So
he did as well. He would have been right behind Yuki. Yeah. If not right behind Yuki, he'd have been right behind Esteban Ocon.
I'm quite enjoying seeing Hadja drive. He's so far proving me wrong. So
he had a great race. Yeah, he's got a bit of a reputation, hasn't he, for being a bit angry from his junior career. And unless it hasn't been broadcast, that hasn't come across at all yet. He was maybe humbled a little bit by Australia. And what happened there.
Oh, fair enough, though.
Yeah, but he was calm, cool, collected, had a great race, had quite the fight with Jack Doohan, didn't he? With Jack Doohan making some questionable defence.
Yeah, and got punished for it hard as well.
He did, yeah.
2 penalty points.
10-second penalty, I think, as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, and 2 penalty points on his license, I think so.
Yeah, that's that. Well, the 10 seconds, that was the forcing Hadjar off track, wasn't it?
Which he did twice.
Yeah. Yeah, Andy made a very late move, which
The
for one
braking on
who
the
is
or moving
yeah
on the braking. So
yeah. But
uh,
Hadjar kept his cool. Yeah, he did mention it on the radio, but it's not like he was getting angry or aggressive or anything. He was just, yeah. And his race was solid, very very solid, and he deserved better than the 11th place that he got even after the disqualifications. Um, yeah,
I think it's time
yeah.
for us
Actually,
to.
Yuki was. Yeah, I forgot about this. Sorry, Yuki was massively screwed over by the front wing just collapsing.
Yeah, that was a major flaw. I think he was doing
Yeah,
really well, and suddenly it just fell apart.
yeah. I
Um,
suspect that. I mean, nobody else's front wing did that, so that would suggest that either there was a fault in the part in manufacturing, which is possible, but probably a slim chance, or they are running running close to the line with performance versus strength,
yeah,
and it's probably fractured through bumps and vibrations going over uh, curbing and stuff like that. Because I didn't see him make contact with anyone at least that might have potentially caused some sort of crack or weakness that would then eventually give way. Because it did break under the stress of downforce going pretty fast down the main straight, didn't it? So um, yeah, it was probably some sort of fracture or something that happened over a curb. Is
it's
at least
something
my
that can
guess.
happen during the first couple of races of the year. I think
It is, yeah. There's still a bit of learning going on right now.
it is a shame though for him. Although,
Yeah.
well, I think it's time for us to talk about the elephant in the room. James, is Liam Lawson this poor, or is the Red Bull this poor?
I, I don't think Liam Lawson is the person to be driving for Red Bull. I think both of us agreed on that last year. Um, but I also don't think Liam Lawson is this bad of a driver. Um, but at the same time, the Red Bull is not as good as it has been in the past. That's very clear. But I don't think it's not that it's a bad car. It's that it has characteristics that magnify people's weaknesses, if that's the right way to put it. I'm trying to think how to word this really. And if anyone who watches or listens to this podcast follows any MotoGP, I'm going to make a MotoGP reference here because what it's reminded me of is Ducati in the late 2000s with Casey Stoner. And I don't know if you really follow any MotoGP or if you know too much about this, John. But
Well, he can win
um,
with it, but no one else could drive it.
yeah, so Ducati had a tremendously fast bike, but its handling was very difficult for a lot of riders to get to grips with. And basically, the only rider that ever really rode that kind of generation of Ducati and was able to tame it was Casey Stoner, and he won a championship on it. And that's what this is reminding me of at the moment is that Max and his driving style is able to get on with a car which other drivers can't. And that does sort of boil down to Max's skill as well. But I think if you could find somebody else that can get on with the car, I think the car is probably faster than Ferrari. But the problem is that it's finding the driver that can get on with it. And this is where I kind of start to hate these conversations about driver versus car and which car's better than the other because it's always down to a combination of the car and the driver. You could put just because McLaren's the fastest car on the grid at the moment doesn't mean you could throw me in the seat and I'd win a world championship. I can't drive a Formula One car. Like, and I don't think if you put, I mean, looking at drivers on the grid at the moment, Lance Stroll, would he win a world championship in the McLaren? I don't think he would. Jack Doohan, I don't think he would. Nico Hulkenberg, I don't think he would. You know, you still need to be a good driver, and a driver needs to be able to get on with the car. And I think this is the Red Bull just have a massively exaggerated version of that, if that makes sense, compared to any of the other cars on the grid, for the most part, I think. So what I'm saying is, it's a fast car, but it's only fast in the right hands. And of the two drivers, Max is the one with the right hands. I don't think Liam is going to be starting from the pit lane in Japan. That's for certain.
Yeah,
I think Liam will make it into Q2 at least.
Yeah,
because that Racing Bull is looking good.
They changed it, so officially announced Yuki Tsunoda goes to Red Bull. Liam Lawson gets promoted. It actually said in the press conference, but I don't think it's a promotion, or maybe it is.
Well,
He's
it might
going
be for
to get
him
to Red Bull to race.
Yeah, because I think he'll get on with the Racing Bull better than he gets on with the Red Bull. I don't think he's going to be qualifying last and starting from the pit lane. I mean, I dubbed him on our Discord as Liam pit lane start Lawson because 2 races of the season so far he's done the pit lane start because he's qualified so poorly. But
it did help Max this weekend by starting on the hards.
Well, it helped a lot of people's weekends by starting on the hards because everyone, based on that, was like, well, the hards are actually pretty good, and turned everyone's race into a one-stop race, or most people's. But yeah, I think the problem is Red Bull they've only got themselves to blame. They've designed a car that is not easy to get on with, or has a setup window as wide as some of the other cars.
It was really good at the end of the race.
It was,
Max was flying and not only caught up to the Ferraris, but he looked really good to go towards Russell.
Yeah, he was making some time up on Russell as well. I mean, he still finished 5 seconds behind him, 6 seconds behind him. But yeah, I mean, it's progress. It looks good. It doesn't look completely bad. And this is what I'm saying. If we can find another driver that gets on with it, and I do think I'm going to stick my neck out here and say that I think Yuki is going to do better in this car than Lawson did.
I'm so looking forward to Yuki.
It's going to be interesting for certain because this becomes a benchmark now because it's going to say one way or another, is Lawson the problem or is the car the problem? Although ultimately, I think the car is still somewhat the problem because Lawson is not that bad of a driver that he finishes last in qualifying in a Red Bull. He's not that bad of a driver. He shouldn't be. Was
Checo better than we think?
Well, yeah. I mean, it kind of highlights that Checo wasn't entirely the problem, and Max has said that. Checo has said that. There's plenty of people who have said that. And Max is still saying it now.
He didn't agree on Liam having to go.
No. What he's effectively saying is that you need to fix the car, not swap the driver. You're focusing on the wrong thing, is what he's basically saying.
Do you get Red Bull, though?
Sorry?
Do you get why Red Bull did it?
Well, they've got to do something because they can't change the car overnight, but they can change the driver overnight. And if they want to finish, I mean, I don't think they've got a chance of winning the Constructors' Championship this year. But if they want to finish second or third in the Constructors, they can't afford to do it with Max being the only person in the points every weekend.
No.
I mean, they got massively let off the hook by Ferrari this weekend.
That did help, eh?
Yeah. But yeah, they need somebody else in the points. And you don't know how the rest of the season is going to pan out. Yeah, McLaren look fast now, but look at it this time last year. We thought Max was going to dominate the season again and just win every race like he did in 2023, and that's not how the season panned out. We are 2 races into a 24 race season. We've got a lot of races left.
And we have, I said at the start of the year, after race 7, when the DRS thingy changes, the mini DRS wing change comes
Just the
into
flexi wings in
effect.
general. It's not just the rear wing; it's the
Yeah.
front wing as well, isn't it?
Then we might have a different thing. But James, hot news, it's changed already, the ruling.
Yeah, I didn't like that. They made a change
It-
at the weekend, didn't they, to like adjust the testing and
Yes, but they
rules
gave
on.
him a margin of, I don't know,
Yeah,
0.25 millimeters or something. But from Japan on, the margin is gone as well. So
yeah,
basically, the rules that would be put into effect after race 7 are into effect from Japan on.
yeah.
Is this McLaren too dominant? We need to make action. We didn't have to take action.
Maybe I don't think it's going to affect McLaren all that much. In all honesty, I think the team that it might end up affecting
Ferrari.
is no. I was going to say Mercedes.
Yeah.
Have you seen their rear wing, or did you see their rear wing in China?
Yeah, I thought my television was shaking, but it's
The entire rear wing dipped on
yeah.
the straights quite considerably, and then obviously raised back up on the under braking when the downforce was gone.
Apparently, there's a couple of teams that people think will have to change things around now. McLaren,
I think most of the
Mercedes,
teams will.
Ferrari.
And I do dislike this only because they've said, okay, this is when we're going to change it, and they've set a date. So all the teams are kind of thinking, well, we've got like a month or 2 months where we can work around things as they are, and then maybe developing things even on because even if you did make something just specifically for one race, and they do that for like Monaco and Monza. Maybe not as much for Monza because it can get used at Baku and stuff a little bit, but they do develop things for very short periods of time or for specific races, or so they would be developing things for specific rules. So to move the goalposts like this, I do think is a little bit unfair with such short notice. But I don't think it's going to end up affecting any of the teams because they'll already have been thinking about what they're going to do from, it was supposed to be from Spain onwards, wasn't it? So they'll already have had a plan, and they've probably already got stuff in production. They just have to fast track it maybe, or just bring it rather than leaving it in storage, whatever. But there will end up being some wasted money from this year's budget by all the teams, because they will have been looking at like their performance in Australia and things that they could tweak under the current regulations for the next 6 races or whatever, which they now can't use because it's really coming into effect from the next race instead.
Going to be interesting though.
It is going to be interesting, but I personally, I don't think it's going to shake the grid up too much, and I really don't think we're going to see. I don't think we're going to see too much reflection of it on a track like Japan, at least anyway, because there's not really. I mean, I suppose there's the run down to.
There's no much traits you wanted to say, but I think you can already. Well, no, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. I think it might affect tire wear in the end, though. But
it might still affect tire wear a little bit, yeah. But I don't think any of the teams are doing quite as well on tire wear as they were hoping.
True.
I mean, Ferrari were massively talking about how tire wear is one of the things that they'd spent a lot of the year, a lot of the off season working on.
You just on the fuel of your cars and you're fine, though.
Well, yeah. But they spent all that time. Well, they claim they've spent all that time working on tire wear, and it doesn't look like it's made a huge amount of difference. Certainly in the race, they look good in the sprint race, but in the main race, they didn't look great on that front.
Nope, they didn't. Well, we were all curious to see Yuki perform in Japan, of course, with a revised Red Bull, with a new special livery coming up.
Yeah.
So
I think it's going to be another white and red one, isn't it?
Yeah, so we get 4 white Red Bulls
in
one weekend.
What's your prediction for Yuki? Not for any points or anything.
No.
Like how do you think he's going to do in Japan in the Red Bull versus the Racing Bull?
I think It's some pressure they put on the guy.
I agree.
At
It
your
is.
home, at your home
I
track,
think.
it's you drive a special Honda livery. You're backed by Honda. You got to show. You got to outperform. There's so many funny scenarios that could happen. Liam outperforming Max and Yuki, for example. There's a scenario where Liam is faster than Yuki because, well, the car might be tricky and you can't really practice too much. So there's
No.
that. There is a possibility of rain always in Japan, I suppose, even though they moved it around,
Yeah.
which could also not be very helpful this year. And you put Yuki in a Red Bull that's hard to handle on a track where he has so much PR stuff to do as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
He does have a lot of experience on that track, which is going to help him.
so
I,
does Lawson. I think everyone shows Japan.
yeah, I
So
think to counter the pressure argument, I mean, I
it's
do
a
agree
triple
that,
header, though, right? So
yeah, I do agree that he's got a lot of pressure on him, I think. But I think the way Yuki should be looking at it is that he needs to ignore Max. He needs to not look at Max's results. He needs to just look at Lawson's results. And he just needs to say to himself, if I can perform better than Lawson, I am the better pick out of the two of us to be in this car.
I
And
mean, I agree, but he's
give
waking
himself
up this
time to get
morning and
used to the car.
thinking he could win the Japanese Grand Prix.
What Yuki thinks. Yuki
Yeah,
said that.
no, I think he's waking up with that idea. He's got a winning possibility on a car now at his
He's
home
not
Grand
winning the
Prix.
Japanese Grand Prix. If he wins the Japanese Grand Prix,
You're
then
gonna shave your hair.
there's no way I'm shaving my hair. I'll just forfeit the rest of the season in our points game, and you can just win the season. Because I don't see that happening. I mean, I suppose anything can happen in Japan if it rains, but under normal circumstances, that Red Bull's not winning in Japan. I don't think. Personally, it's certainly not with Yuki.
They're bringing upgrades, new driver
Yeah.
pairing.
I think Yuki will be a better fit for the car than Lawson was, and we said that last year, didn't we? That he's the better driver to move up.
He's got nothing to lose anyway. So
Yeah.
runs out
There
of
is that.
runs out of contract, which is the main reason Red Bull didn't want to promote him, right?
Yep.
You can run away free with a lot of knowledge about Red Bull, which
Oh yeah, he's a Honda guy, and Honda basically, to some extent, screwed Red Bull by saying we're ducking out of Formula One now, and then a year later saying actually we're not, and we're going to join Aston Martin.
yeah. Oh yes, and you have to promote our driver. So I get why they didn't promote Yuki in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree. I do think he's got more of that Red Bull spirit in him. So, but I'm also going to be honest. I feel a little bit for Lawson here because
I do. Out of everything that's happened, Lawson is the person we should really be focusing on here because he's been kicked in the teeth when he's already down effectively. And they're saying they're doing it to protect him, but you get demoted. It's a demotion, whichever way you look at it, and that's not going to help his confidence.
And in race, Max has more wins than he's got minutes in Formula One Red Bull.
He's got more
Something
races.
like that. Yeah. More races. Yeah, Max has more races than he does minutes in his Red Bull. So
yeah, something like that. He's got more wins than Lawson's had days or something from the start of the season. I don't know. I can't remember what the silly stat was, but yeah. And then there's all these other ones like it's something like Max's 6th teammate in however many few years and stuff like that.
You did say that Lawson will be the driver that crashes the most this year, so
well, maybe not so much now. That screwed my prediction up because he's moved out of the car that he can't drive, and I didn't think he'd do very well in.
Yeah,
because that's basically what my prediction was, that the Red Bull was going to carry on like they did last year, where they've got a car that Max can drive, but the second driver struggles in, like Checo did last year and had all of his crashes in.
Honestly, though, can you imagine Piastri or Norris behind Yuki Tsunoda in a Red Bull? It's going to be fire to watch.
It would be crazy. Yeah.
I'm mute. I of course I got my Yuki kit already on. I'm in. I'm
full Yuki mode.
I am going to the Red Bull fan shop tomorrow. This is actually true.
Yep.
And if they have a Yuki Tsunoda cap already,
Hmm.
I don't know how fast they are with actually making them, but I'll be wearing it next week on the show.
All right.
Yuki for life. Or just for this or for this,
I just
for this
the next few
season.
races until he gets demoted as well.
Talking about next few races, though, we made some predictions, James, about the Chinese Grand Prix. We went in the first race without scoring any points, so there's that. And we went to China, and you said pole position is going to be for Lando Norris. Yes, I said it's going to be Piastri. Piastri did it. One point for me. You said Lando is going to win the race. I said, it's going to be Piastri. He won the race.
Yeah.
Can I go for the magical hat trick here?
I don't think you can you?
No, because nobody.
There's only one DNF.
Yeah, and that's Alonso. And you said Behrman, who had a terrific race. I said Lawson. Well, he actually got demoted, so it sort of counts, but it's not.
He had a crash in his career, but not,
exactly.
not during the race.
It does mean we're heading into Japan with a 2-0 lead for me, though.
Yeah,
that's something I've never thought that would happen.
No.
So my main question for you is predicting the Japanese Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Who's going to be on pole position?
I'm going to go with Piastri.
Bold move, Captain.
With his confidence boost from China.
Yes. So I'm going to go for Max Verstappen.
Oh, okay. To be fair, the Red Bull does seem fast in quali.
Yeah, and it was just behind him. So I think
he's got a chance. He's definitely got a chance. It's not like you're predicting the impossible by saying Max. I mean, you can never count Max out anyway, but yeah.
No, and I need a little bit of hopium. Okay. Who's going to win it?
I'm just stuck between the two McLarens, personally. I'm going to go with Norris.
I could do the funniest thing here and say Yuki.
I mean, if you do, I mean, I've already said I'm basically giving up if he wins. But that would just be to rub salt in the wound if you also predicted it.
Yeah, so it's going to be Piastri. No, okay. Actually, it's not going to be Piastri. I think something big will happen this weekend with the McLarens. They will touch.
All right. Or maybe the rules do slow them down.
Yeah. Max Verstappen will win the race.
All right.
Yeah.
That would be pretty impressive if it does. Based on the last two races, that'd be a heck of a win.
Who's first DNF?
Oh, I don't want to say Yuki. That would be just horrific. That would be just awful. So I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say...
You're going to say Lawson to make things better for him.
No, I wouldn't want to put that evil on him. No, I'm going to say Jack Doohan.
No, I can see that happen.
He had a bad race last weekend in China. And I think he's feeling the pressure and he's going to make a mistake and he's going to DNF. And hopefully it's the first one for my point's sake.
Yeah. Who's going to be the first DNF? Am I saying it? Yeah. It's going to be Yuki.
Oh, John. Yeah. You're going to go buy his hat if they've got it. And you're predicting his downfall.
I can see him being over enthusiastic.
You're just here for the chaos and the drama now, aren't you?
Yeah, that is true.
Who cares about the racing? We just want the off-track drama.
James, I mean, it's just sometimes it's a shame I'm a Red Bull fan because this weekend has everything in store to be so freakily funny.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's so many scenarios that could play out. I mean, I would love it.
If Lawson wins the race, outperforms both Red Bulls.
If Lawson and Hadjar have an amazing weekend, what I would love to see happen, it'll never happen, but it would be absolutely hilarious, is if Red Bull just do a full driver swap or just go all in with the racing bulls instead.
Max goes to racing.
Yeah,
bulls thing.
Max goes down to the racing bulls because it turns out it's the faster car because Lawson like massively overperforms when he moves there. So they think like, well, if Lawson's finishing last in the Red Bull and he's finishing 6th in the Racing Bull, and Max is finishing 4th in the Red Bull, he'd finish 1st in the Racing Bull. And then they just do a driver swap to get Max and the Racing Bulls to win the Constructors and Drivers' Championship.
And you get a Racing Bull to win a race.
Yeah.
Well,
wouldn't that be
Helmut did
hilarious?
say he could win a race in a Haas. So
that I would love to see that. It's never going to happen, but it would be absolutely amazing. Just a full team swap, even like just the swap the team principals and Horner moves over to Racing Bull. It's like, look at me, I'm the captain now.
Mackey's in Red Bull. Oh well. James, last year we said after we have bonus questions where we give in a question that has a number in it, so anyone at least gets 1 point. Do you want to reintroduce that, or do you want to stick with this for now?
No, let's just stick with what we're doing for now.
Okay. There might be a chance.
That one became a bit difficult to keep track of at times. So
yeah, because you like, how many seconds is Max Verstappen ahead in corner 7 in the 17th lap? So you made it a little bit difficult for us.
I didn't get that specific. It was, I only said down to the nearest 10th.
Yeah. Last but not least, we are of course also sim racers. Jarno Opmer won the F1 Sim Racing World Championship finale in Abu Dhabi.
For Red Bull, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Yeah, he moved from Mercedes to Red Bull.
Yep, and won it. So
yeah,
Dutch
he's
pride.
Always been. He's won the championship for Formula One, whatever they call it, F1. Whatever, I can't remember the name for it, but he's won that championship before, hasn't he? He's a good F1 game racer, F1 sim racer.
Yeah. And Ron Haar, it was spectacular. Ron Haar could have won it, but he got penalized before for rough driving. It was drama. Like this, the drama of the Formula One continued.
I got to admit, I didn't watch this. I didn't follow it, so I didn't know the result.
Absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, I think anyone, even you don't even have to be someone who enjoys sim racing. Just anyone who likes Formula One probably knows at least Jarno as a like an F1 character, a person, just for his sim racing.
Switching teams and wins it again. So
yeah, well done.
Congrats. Also Dutch pride, of course. So there's that.
Yeah.
Didn't want to forget to mention it. James will be back next week after the Japanese Grand Prix. We're up for a triple header now.
Wow, so, it's going to be busy. Yeah.
Japan, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia. 3 in a row again. So
3 pretty good tracks as well.
Yeah.
I like all 3 of them. Saudi Arabia, I never thought I was going to like, and I liked that more when I actually had to go on the track in one of the F1 games. I think it was F1 23. I don't think I got 24 last year. And when I had to go at driving it, it's just a video game. It's not like driving a real racetrack, really, or entirely.
The flow is good at it.
It's got a really nice flow to it, and I really like it. And after driving, I find this with all of the tracks, is that when you are familiar with them via a video game, you can appreciate them a little bit more when you're watching them on TV as well.
True.
And yeah, I like Saudi Arabia, which I didn't expect to. Yeah, and Bahrain's always a good track, and so is Japan. Japan's a classic, so I like this triple header. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and Japan early in the season is something I am very much looking forward to.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite tracks. So yeah. I got some closing words from Yuki. You want?
No. Where's he hiding?
He's
got him in his pocket.
He actually said that. Yuki, good luck with, of course, your weekend in Japan. I think it's it's going to be awesome. Do you have some closing thoughts for Yuki before we end the show? Thank you so much. See you next week,
All right.
James.
See you next week.
Bye bye.
Bye.